You're listening to an AppleViz podcast.
Hello and welcome. My name is Thomas Domville, also known as AnonyMouse. And this feature I'm going to be covering is something that I hope you will never have to use, ever. However, it is also one of those features that you should know about, know how to use it, and get prepared for it if you ever have to do that. This feature is called the Emergency SOS. Now, for those that have been using for iOS for some time, you might be surprised how things have changed within that settings for Emergency SOS. So this is probably a good time for you to go back and look into it and make sure all the settings are set the way you want it when you need it. So let's dive into Emergency SOS, show you what the feature looks like, see what kind of setups you can and settings that you can tweak, and then on top of that, knowing how to use it. There's quite a few things in here, so let's go ahead and dive into the Settings app here.
Settings. Double tap to open.
So we're going to do just that. One finger double tap to open up Settings.
Settings.
And then from here, just swipe to the right until you get to Emergency SOS.
Emergency SOS button.
And we have arrived here. So let's go ahead and open this up with one finger double tap.
Settings. Back button.
And now the focus is going to be at the top left-hand corner where you have your back buttons that takes you back to the settings. Let me go right here a few times and we'll get to our first little item that you are able to initiate Emergency SOS manually. So there are two options to do this manually, and then I'll show you a couple of other options that can be done by automatic and when those would occur. So as I swipe to the right.
Emergency SOS heading. Animated image depicting the buttons on the iPhone required to call emergency services. Image. Press and hold the side button and either volume button to make an emergency call. In certain regions, you may need to specify an emergency service to dial. Auto call requires a SIM card. Call with hold and release. Switch button, on. Double tap to toggle setting. If you continuously hold the side button and either volume button, a countdown begins and an alarm sounds. After the countdown, if you release the buttons, iPhone will call emergency services.
So here's our first option, and this should be set on. If it's not, this is something you may want to consider if you want to use this method. Now, as I mentioned, there are two methods to do this manually, but this is the first option. And my sister didn't know about this option. I said, yep, this is one of the newer features that's coming out in recent years for the Emergency SOS. So, and thus for, you can just hold either the up or down volume button located on the left side of your device. Hold that down while you're holding down the side button, which is located at the right side of your device. Hold that down for a number of seconds until you hear a countdown. You will hear the countdown, and then from that countdown, it will set off an alarm just to let you know that it has been initiated, and that is going to call your emergency service in your area. And during this call, what's going to happen is that's going to lock into that position. In other words, you will not be able to actually get out of that screen. You will not be able to get out of that screen until you tell it to do so. So there's several processes that you have to do to get out of that mode. However, during this mode, when it's locked up like that, what's going to do is going to send your location and certain circumstances, your medical ID will go out to them, and so they get better assessment and idea about your situation. And then obviously you can call and talk with the emergency provider. If you feel like you have done this by accident, have no fear. I've done it before by accident, and I just apologize and say that was by accident. And they're more times than not are very friendly to do so and to say that's all right. But never just simply hang up. More times than not, they're going to be calling you back, or they will send somebody out to your house or the location where you're at, just to make sure that you're doing all right. But nonetheless, this is one of those features that you can initiate Emergency SOS by using this process. Now, the next option is more of you probably are aware of this one for those that have been on iOS for some time. So if I go to the right here.
Call with 5 button presses. Switch button, off. Double. If you rapidly press the side button 5 times, a countdown begins and an alarm sounds. When the countdown ends, iPhone will call emergency services.
That's the one that's been around for a long time. Now, I have this turned off for myself. Now, this is obviously going to be entirely up to you. I have accidentally initiated this because the side buttons, as you know, can do a variety of things. For example, if I click on it once, it locks and unlocks the device, right? If you hold it down, you initiate Siri. If I double tap the side button, the Apple Pay comes up. And if I triple click it, it turns voiceover on and off. Sometimes I get a little too ambitious and just kind of get ahead of myself. I'm clicking before I even know what I'm clicking and counting how many clicks I'm doing, either because out of frustration, because I had to start over voiceover or whatever not. But sadly, I have initiated that. And so it's something for you to consider if that's something you want to leave on. The other option, too, to consider is I have heard that this going off by accident, especially for women that leave their phone in purses. I've heard that just leaving in the purse sometimes it kind of bumps against something else and it just keeps clicking that side button without your knowledge and then sending the Emergency SOS out. So it can happen, but I'm not here to say don't do it. It's just going to be up to you and your personal preference. Another option too, now along with those two options that how to initiate the Emergency SOS that I've covered here, there is one more element that you may want to consider, and that just depends on you.
Call quietly. Switch button, off. Double tap to toggle setting. Warning alarms, flashes, and voiceover audio will be silenced when using hold and release or 5 button presses to place an emergency call.
So initially what this is saying is that everything will be quiet. You will not hear the countdown. You will not hear the alarm. This could be useful in unusual circumstances where you are not wanting to let people around you or knowing that you have initiated Emergency SOS. So there could be certain circumstances that could happen, but that is again up to you if you want to turn that on or off. Now keep in mind with that off, you will not know that you initiate it until you hear somebody talking on the phone that possibly could give it away, or to let you know you have accidentally initiated the Emergency SOS. Now, those are the two options and the tweak I was mentioning. Now, what are some of the things that happen automatically? Good question. So let's go ahead and show you that area.
Crash detection. Heading. Call after severe crash. Switch button, on. Double tap to toggle setting. If you're in a car crash, iPhone can automatically call emergency services. iPhone will start a countdown and sound an alarm before the call. iPhone cannot detect all crashes.
So here's a circumstance you have a crash detection. This is one of the newer features you have come across in the past few years as well. If he thinks or detects that you have been in a crash, this could be very ideal, especially if you're incapacitated or you're not able to reach your phone or whatever reason that might be, unfortunate situation. This will dial it automatically. So essentially what this will do, it'll do exactly the same thing. It'll initiate SOS automatically for you and call the emergency service, and then we'll give them your location. Even though you're not able to talk to them, maybe you can still hear them. You can kind of yell at the phone, or if you're not, they will probably send some help out your way to make sure everything is all right. A couple other things I want to show you as you go to the right here.
Emergency contacts. Heading.
Is your emergency contact. Now, this is a great option to think about and to set up now before you ever have to use Emergency SOS. This is where you can add people, whether that's your loved ones, family, coworkers, friends, whatever that might be, that you want to alert them that you have initiated Emergency SOS. So essentially how this works is once you have initiated Emergency SOS and you completed the call, what's going to do is going to send a message to your emergency contact that something has occurred and you have initiated Emergency SOS. Great ideal situation for things like my mother, if she's fallen or she got hurt or whatever not. This is a great way to let me know something's going on and I can go check on her and make sure everything is doing all right. Same for my wife and etc. So this is where you do that. Now I have two people on my list here. My first one is my wife,
Angela Knight Domville.
And then of course my mother,
Carol Riedelbach Domville.
And then from here, if you swipe one more to the right,
Edit emergency contacts in health button. You can add and edit emergency contacts for Emergency SOS in your medical ID in the health app.
So if you haven't done so, go ahead and hit that edit button and add the people you want to add to your emergency contact. This is a great little option that I highly recommend everybody doing now and be prepared. Now the next one up is relatively new as well.
About Emergency SOS and Privacy. Link. Emergency SOS via satellite. Heading.
It's Emergency SOS by satellite. Well, I will let you know this only will work if you are in an area with no cell reception or wireless. So this is a great opportunity if you're in a rural area, if you're in an area with no towers that is nearby, if you're hiking and whatever that might be, and you get yourself in a pickle where you need some help. Well, this is where the Emergency SOS will come and shine at its best. Is through satellite. So you're actually connecting to the satellites up above the sky, up above you, and making established connection with that satellite. And that will allow you to connect to emergency service. So let me show you a couple things here.
iPhone can help start a satellite connection to contact emergency services when a call won't go through. Try demo. Button.
Highly recommend, if you had never used this, try the demo. And what that demo essentially will do, it'll step you through the process of what it would be like if you have to use it. The hardest part is here, of course, you have to have a clear, direct line of the satellite in the sky above you. So this more than likely is not going to work indoors. So more times than not, if you're going to be using this, you probably are outdoors doing hiking and whatever not, and you have to get a clear signal to the satellite. It's not exactly what you may think it is, as in you're not going to be like talking to somebody by voice and things like that. It's going to have you predefined prompts that allows you to connect and talk with the people on the other side. It's more like going to be, I have an issue here, or I have a problem, and there's going to be predefined text that you'll use to communicate with the people on the emergency side of things. So that is Emergency SOS by satellite.
In an emergency, iPhone will try to use a satellite to send your medical ID, location, and emergency details.
And so that is it for the iOS. Now, as a bonus here, Apple Watch users like myself, there are some things in here that you might want to consider and set up as well. Let me show you what that looks like. So I'm going to head over to my Watch app here.
Watch. Double tap to open.
We're going to open up the Watch app here. One finger double tap.
Watch. All watches. Button.
Just like what we did in settings, we're going to swipe to the right until you get to Emergency SOS.
Emergency SOS. Button.
Go ahead and do one finger double tap to open this up. Now, this is going to be similar to what we saw on the phone, with the exception of how you activate the Emergency SOS. So on a watch, it's a little different. So let me swipe to the right and show you how that option works to initiate it manually.
Press and keep holding the side button to make an emergency call. Hold side button to dial. Switch button, on. Double tap to toggle setting. Press and hold the side button to call emergency services. In certain regions, you may need to choose which number to dial.
All right, so that is exactly how it works on Apple Watch. So you might want to make sure that is on. Now, for those watch wearers, you'll realize know on the right side, towards the top is your crown. That's the circle device that goes around. Below that is a button. That's your side button. So if you hold that down for a number of seconds, that will initiate the Emergency SOS. So that's how you do that. And for you to know, in a case of emergency, you're away from your phone, but you have your Apple Watch next to you, you just hold down and press down the side button for a number of seconds. Now, this also has some automatic detection as well, very much like the crash detection, but we have something called the fall detection.
Fall detection. Heading. Fall detection. Switch button, on. Double tap to toggle setting. Selected, always on.
There are several options for the fall detection, and there is a reason for this. So you have the option of always.
Only on during workouts.
And let me have this explain that situation for you.
Apple Watch can initiate emergency SOS if you take a hard fall and don't seem to move. Before the call, Apple Watch will alert you it has detected a fall. Tap your wrist, sound an alarm, and then call emergency services. Apple Watch cannot detect all falls. The more physically active you are, the more likely you are to trigger fall detection due to high-impact activity that can appear to be a fall. Enabling fall detection only during workouts may reduce false detections.
And so hopefully that will give you an explanation which one you should pick. I keep mine on always, and yep, unfortunately, I have had a fall before, and thankfully this worked really well. I was in a situation where I missed a step. Yep, I think you all have been there. If you're not, thankfully, you have been very blessed that you haven't had that situation. But yep, I have fallen down the stairs because I missed a step, and by God, that thing went off. And fortunately, I was fine. I was able to catch it in time before it actually dialed. But in case that I wasn't, I was very glad that this was there for me to choose and to have on in that situation. Now, just like on the iOS settings for Emergency SOS, we also have
Emergency Contacts. Heading.
Your Emergency Contacts, where you can select the people and edit and add to that list. And that's pretty much sums up the Emergency SOS. Now, a side note, I'd like to kind of let you know about the crash detection and fall detection. As it mentioned, it's not foolproof. So I've had reports and people with a fall, for example, they may accidentally just kind of went real fast with their watch and just moved their arms real quickly downward, or they were in a place where they were doing a lot of activities and whatnot, and it actually set it off. But thankfully, you'll know that you have initiated. You will hear the countdown and the alert, and hopefully you'll be able to catch that in time. I've also noticed that reports, and I never had it really happen to me yet, that the crash detection can also go off at times, especially if you're in a rough situation. So if you're playing tackle football with your friends or whatever not, or if you're on a roller coaster and not, that might set it off. So you might want to think about turning that off if you are expecting and thinking about riding or doing activities that might cause it to go off. The nice thing about the fall detection is that, as it mentioned there, and it's absolutely true, is that once it detects that you fall and you haven't moved for a period of time, and then it'll initiate it. So it's something that if it felt like maybe it sensed you fall, but you didn't, but you're still moving around, it won't go off. So there's just a couple things to think about there. All right, well, that's going to do for me. I hope that you will never, ever, ever have to worry about using this ever, but it's great to have a knowledge and understanding, have everything set up now, and especially your emergency contact if that were ever to happen. All right, my name is Thomas Domville, also known as AnonyMouse. Until next time, bye-bye.
This AppleVis podcast has been brought to you by the community of applevis.com for the latest in resources and tips and tricks to get you the best experience from your Apple device. Visit www.applevis.com.